I'm Robin Crane, and this is the Growing Your Financial Business the Woman's Way podcast. Listen, I was a financial advisor for over a decade, and I got so sick of the old archaic strategies that your grandpa used to get clients. What the industry teaches today is still so outdated and just doesn't work anymore. So I had to find a better way for myself, and then I got obsessed with sharing these how-tos with other women like me. The stuff I teach doesn't require giving up your life, your sanity, or your family time. I want women like you to have it easier than I had it, so you can thrive in the industry. I've now helped thousands of women grow their financial businesses to multiple six figures, some even seven figures per year. So on this podcast, you're going to get an inside look at how they did it so you can do it too. Let's dive into the show. I am here with Clare Cui, and she is an international sales expert, trainer, and speaker who has led multi-million, seven-figure sales teams to close to over $11 million in high-ticket sales and $4 million in 2020 alone. Okay. She's worked with a lot of cool people that if I name drop them, you probably won't know them because as a female financial advisor, you won't know how cool they are, but just trust me, she's very, very cool. And we got I kind of just want to talk about what we're going to talk about. So you could add some things here, but she's great around money. She's great around sales. She's been working with many seven-figure a year, high level earners who help especially a lot of women. So we're into that. We're going to talk a lot about how bringing the feminine into sales and how to embrace sales as a woman without having to follow the old masculine based way of selling, which is, Claire, like what I talk about all the time. So we're going to be very aligned with that. And she actually has a story, and I'm kind of curious about this, and I don't know if it even relates to sales, but I want to start with it because I think it's interesting. And she says, why getting breast implants was a huge mistake, but I don't blame the salesperson. So let's start with that, but you can tell us a little about you and then get into that. But let's go right to boobs. That's what I want to talk about. Right. I know we're talking to women, so maybe it's a little weird, but I mean, we have boobs. I have boobs. You have boobs. We all have boobs. Wouldn't you like to be a boob too? I don't know. But tell us about this mistake and how it happened.
Right. And I'm like straight to business, straight to the boobs. Love it. Boobs.
Let's just be real here. We all want to know.
We all want to know. So I'll just say this too, because I'll weave in what we talked about with the masculine and the feminine. I can tell that you're really into that and your audience might be into that as well. So if you go to my Instagram, Clare, CLARE_Cui, and you scroll down, I mean, I had surgery in October 2021. So last year, I was like, wait, what year is it? It's all going so fast. But when it comes to like the feminine and the masculine paradigms, and basically when I say paradigm, it's like how we think men and women should be. And I also want to just say this too, as a disclaimer, I don't think men are bad or evil or wrong. I certainly consider myself a feminist. I work with all women's teams. I believe that we should have equal pay, equal rights, all those things. I say that, and I'm married. I love men, and we also need to heal. Women need to heal, men need to heal for us to be copacetic and things to work and have equality all around. So I just want to say that first. But
and I will add, amen, sister.
Yeah.
I'm not into male bashing. It's just that this industry, the financial industry, is old, archaic, male dominated, and it's a problem. And it's a problem for the women who are in this male dominated industry. They don't feel like they have a home. They feel like they're being pushed out, even if they don't always say it. And it's not, there are many men who are very inclusive. And I will just say this is very interesting, but I had an event just recently. And one of my ladies said that they got in her broker dealer, and I won't mention the name, but at her broker dealer, they got rid of exclusive women events, women types of events, because the men were complaining that it was not all inclusive. I'm like, you freaking got to be kidding me. This is what we're doing. Old white dudes are going to now say, oh, it's not inclusive. And so you can't have some sort of women's event. I'm like, I'm about to go knock on their door and bang it down and be like, this is ridiculous. So I also married, have a son, that's not what it's about. Right. And my second podcast was with Ron Carson, who very manly man, but very, very inclusive to helping women and minorities to have more success in the financial industry. So it's just something we unfortunately have to fight for. And we have to fight for it. And because we have to fight for it, we have to fight against. And it's not one individual dude. It's the industry that is creating this atmosphere that is not inclusive to women and minorities. That's a problem. So amen, sister. I had to add that. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So we're
not going to really talk about the boobs yet. We're just going to keep talking about the boobs. So like, we're just like, I want to know about these boobs. I mean, maybe people aren't listening and they hate me now because it's a little bit,
they're pressing forward. They're just like, let's talk about the boobs.
Or they're just like leaving, or, people love me or hate me, and some might hate me, but the ones that love me apparently like to talk about boobs. Okay. Carry on.
Okay.
Carry on.
So I had to set the stage, which is all this is just, by the way, this is like basically sales. We're creating an open loop. Like by the way, the people that are like still here that are listening to us, like there are people. So,
and she's even saying, by the way, which is a sales technique, BY, or is it BUY the way? What is she going to offer at the end of this podcast? There's going to be like some huge high ticket offer. No, just kidding. Keep listening.
I'm going to offer you an idea of what to think about boobs. That's all what I offer.
We got it.
Okay. So I had to set the stage with just the male, the masculine, the feminine. And I say that because if you go on my Instagram, you scroll, you just go deep in the stock mode, go real deep, just keep scrolling. I used to be in the fitness industry. And so, like the financial industry, it is male dominated. It's very, there's patriarchy there. There's a bunch of white guys, literally white guys. There was one woman in a judging panel one time when I was in fitness in a fitness competition. And so, I was competing at my peak. I was competing nationally, placed top 5. I mean, this was like back in the heyday when, this form of fitness competition was coming out. Anyway, so I get off stage. I'm in the best quote unquote shape of my life. And I have big quotation marks because yes, I like looked great, like had abs, but mentally, spiritually, and kind of physically, I was like, when you're on stage, you're actually at your weakest point because you're dehydrated. Like it's not good. So I get off stage in seemingly visually, just externally, the best shape of my life. And I go down to this like 11 guys, one woman, and they basically said I needed boobs in order for me to do better. So just like think about that,
and
right?
The woman too.
The woman was the most adamant that I needed breasts.
Oh God.
Right. So, and I'm not blaming her either. This is just the system. Like this is how it was set up, and this is their perspective on what they think beauty is. By the way, if you're currently in a competitor, or you compete or whatever, blessings to you. There's many things to learn. It is not an easy sport. But at the end of the day, my mentor many years ago told me at the end of the day, it's a beauty competition. Like who is to say at Miss America, like, your cheekbones are slightly more defined. Like in fitness, it's basically like your butt cheek is a little perkier and at that level, it's like, anyway. So I left the competition, with it, the seed was planted, and I competed a few more times, didn't place as well because again, it's like maybe not the same 12 people, but different people with the same perspectives around beauty. So I competed, didn't place well another time. And I was like, okay, I think I need boobs. And this is like really hard for me to admit because at that point I'd sold myself into I needed boobs. Like I wanted boobs. In fact, I remember telling myself, well, I've always kind of thought what it would be like to have bigger boobs. But the reality was the seed was planted. I had sold myself into getting boobs. So I literally 2 weeks later after that competition, I go to the doctor, the plastic surgeon. And here's the thing. I walk into the office and it's beautifully aesthetic. I don't know if you've ever been into a plastic surgeon's office or if you get Botox or something like that. It's very beautiful. This kind of like clean, just aesthetic. And I walk in but what you would think is that the plastic surgeon like had to convince me or I walked in kind of knowing what I wanted. I knew what I had wanted. And fast forward, I think I had boobs for breast implants for 11, maybe 12 years. And over that period of time, And now the FDA, by the way, has required basically black boxed breast implants. Say that 5 times fast. Black box breast implants. Basically, that the doctors now have to disclose the impact, the risks, right, of that. And that did not exist when I got, like, they were like, oh, it's fine.
Right.
You might have to get them replaced just because, right. Not even that. It's just because, like, the plastic, the actual silicone or the saline, like, you need to get them replaced. Anyway, so here's the takeaway. I got really sick, like super, there's many symptoms associated with getting breast implants that are actually not directly correlated, because when your body has a foreign body, when there's an implant, whether it's a knee implant, breast implant, shoulder, it doesn't matter. Your body will start to reject it. And the way it rejects it is through your autoimmune system. So I was having definite autoimmune responses, like weird rashes popping up. My biggest symptom was fatigue. Like, I would get 11, 10 hours of sleep and still, like, be exhausted. Like, I needed to go back to sleep. Didn't matter how much caffeine I had. I was having like some skin problems. My eyes were kind of red all the time. So basically, I hit a bottom. I was doing everything right. Like, I was gluten-free, dairy-free. I was eating super clean, was still, like, not feeling great, like not easy to lose weight, but I knew I was getting the right amount of sleep. Something was wrong. And I made the decision.
It's like 1 year in, this is 12 years in, like, it's just like compounding.
Yes.
And it got really bad. Wow.
It got really bad. I mean, I'd say the last year, 2021, I also was working really hard. As you said earlier, at 2020, with one team, I produced over 4 million for a coaching industry. That's pretty amazing in the pandemic times.
Right.
And I hit a real bottom in 2021. My adrenals were just fatigued. And then just everything that I was kind of suppressing and getting by with, it spiked. So I say that it was a big sales mistake, because I walked into that not really getting real with myself about why I was doing it. Yes, the plastic surgeon did it. He did, we had 2 like consultations, whatever. I don't blame him, because ultimately I'm responsible. And also, what I will say about him is that, he wanted the easy sale. Like, I was an easy sale. And what I teach my clients is that sometimes the easiest sale isn't the best sale. It's not necessarily best for you as the provider or the best for the client. So it was easily my biggest sales mistake, because I was not informed. There was not a lot of connection. He didn't get into why I wanted these things, or from my memory. I mean, maybe he did, but I was just like, I want it. So you were just
like, he was just an order taker. And I think that's also a really good distinction around sales. Like, what is being taught in the financial industry is, and I talk about, like, this is the sales process, because I lived it as a financial advisor. And then it was 15 years or 16 years ago or something when I started, and the techniques are exactly the same. Like, it's interesting to me when I tell women that, like, here's the sales process that they gave me, and they're like, yes, they're nodding their heads. And so what they told me to do, and maybe not everybody's the same, but when I first started, it was like, okay, let me tell you about my company. Then let me tell you about me. Then, and it's not like, let me tell you, but it was like, this was the sequence. This was the structure. Tell you about my company, tell you about myself, and building credibility first about the company, not about me. And then the third thing is, I'm going to educate you. So usually we would show some sort of graph. It's either the start saving at 21 versus 31, and how if you save less than 21, you'll still have more than the person saving more at 31 because you start early, or maybe it's a graph to show if you don't start investing in the market now, you're screwed basically. Then it's a fact finder of, like, how much money do you have and where is it? So I know where the gaps are based on where your money is. Then it's like a very short portion. What do you want? And it's like, it's a short-term, medium-term, long-term. So maybe it's like in the next year or less, then it's like 2 to 5 years, and then 5 years plus, or maybe 10 years plus, whatever. And then it's like, here's the next step. there's no digging or probing for the challenges and why you want it and why it's important to you. And so you're an order taker. Like, you're just like, if someone comes in, and this is most financial advisors, they're getting referrals, at least if they've been in the business long enough. And when that referral comes in, they're already ready to buy because you're great at what you do. Not necessarily great at sales, but great at what you do. They come in and they're like, oh, I have $1 million in this investment at whatever company, and I don't like them, or they don't really talk to me. And so what can you do with it? And after you go through your whole system, you're like, here's the offer. Like, put this in this account, and I'm gonna invest it this way. And here, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, three appointments later, sign the paperwork and move the money. Like, it's not even fast, right? But it's like, I always tell my clients that they don't like to hear it necessarily, but they get it. I'm like, sorry to say, but you're not good at sales, even though you think you are. You're good at what you do, and then people refer you, and they're already sold. Like, you were already sold. Someone sold the breast implants to you as competition, culturally, all these things that you need it, you must have it. You went in there ready to buy. You're in that 3% of the market that's ready to buy, that didn't need any convincing or otherwise. He has conviction, the plastic surgeon, what he does, or he wouldn't do it. He's like, all my job is to make you feel better and get what you want to look the way you want to look. And I can make magic, and I can carve my, beautiful, what's it called? Michelangelo, or whatever the heck the guy is sitting at Rodin, whatever his name is. But I can like carve you and create you what you want to look like. Like, look at this beautiful masterpiece. He's an artist, right? He's not a salesperson. So yeah, I agree with you. And I think most people are definitely in this order taking position, which is why they're missing a lot of the people who really need their help. And I know, without even hearing your system, that is probably very similar to mine. Like, you have to understand what's holding them back, what they want, and how to get them there. So tell us, like, from your perspective, as far as, well, let me just, I know you started to say it, but I think I interrupted you. You obviously got them removed.
Yes.
And did you notice a change in your health immediately? Because
100%.
Yeah. And Mel Robbins actually got on Instagram, and she had like a whole 5-part series about why she removed her breast implants, but it was very, very similar as well, where she was, I don't remember what the pain was, but she was having a major issue, and it was affecting her health. And she finally, removed them, and she was like, oh my gosh, like, it's like night and day. It's like a whole different body. You have this foreign, she's like, don't do it. You have this foreign substance in your body. Like, it's not going to end well. So without making this all about breast implants, we'll move on. But I think that's also really important, just as a woman, to not let like societal like demands and culture determine how you feel and what you do with your freaking body. Right. We all want bigger boobs. I mean, that's a societal thing, like a cultural thing. Like, there was a time where when you were big and curvy and juicy, like, and people loved that was culturally very acceptable, like big hips, big body, big boobs, all the bigness. And then it got to like super skinniness, and like, you got to be skinny, skinny, skinny. And like, what changed? People's opinions. Like, that's it. And so all of a sudden you got to be different and completely sacrifice your health and what's important to you. What you think, you think it's other things, but it's like, the most important thing should be your health in order to please others or to feel good about yourself when it's really within. So that's a whole other podcast I think we can do, but I'll just put my foot down around that, because I think that's bullshit. And like, and still I want bigger boobs. Like, and still I've never done Botox, but like, I want to, kind of, because it's like, shit, like, I'm getting older. Like, I'm getting freaked out about getting older. Like, it doesn't feel good. It's scary. And my face is like falling apart, and like, it freaks me out because nobody wants to get old. Like, everybody wants to look beautiful. And I look at my face now and I'm like, crap, like, I get scared, And so I'm like, what can I do to make it better? Right. So all that shit, it's hard to just look within, but I'm trying to like eat the right things and put the right things in my body to make my skin look well, instead of just like putting shots, although I won't say I'll never do it. So, don't judge me. But going back to you and your sales process. So if you were, I'm kind of giving you the structure from the industry, and I can kind of, I'm sure yours is very similar to mine, but what is the feminine way to do sales, and how can they use that in their practice?
Right. And so I was listening to you lay out the structure that you were taught, and I'm like, oh, like, it's so cringy. It's so cringy. And I think one of the things that makes a huge distinction with that model, and like, I just want to point out, if you listen to that, how that model is laid out, it's very much like the person that's explaining it has all the power. Let me get through my slideshow. Like, let me just, like, I'm going to barge through and just trudge through this like a bull in a china shop kind of feeling. I mean, I just could hear that, and it's very, very rigid. And again, that's like, if you just look at the masculine or the feminine anatomy, I mean, like men are supposed to be super rigid. I think the thing that has changed in most industries is that people are smarter. People know that trick and pony now. They understand that many years ago, this is my first introduction to sales. I used to sell Cutco knives. By the way, those are great knives. My sister bought like the whole shebang set.
They are good knives.
They're freaking good knives. And it very much is, you can, hearing that model and hearing the Cutco model, man, it's the same thing. Let me do the demo. Like, here's about the company. Like, don't worry about me kind of thing. And all right, here's save it. You have your first knife at 20 and then by 20, like, great. It's just the same kind of spiel. And the big difference that I can already sense and know how you do your process, it's about relationship. It is about not assuming anything, not going into the conversation thinking that you know it all. And one of the pieces that I teach my clients, and I've seen it again and again with 7-figure sales teams, is to come from a place of curiosity. And women, we're naturally like that. Like my husband he'll have like a happy hour with another husband, like a couple friend. I don't know how you say that, but I'm like, well, tell me what happened with, their vacation and like, when are they going to blah, blah, blah. And he comes back, he's like, I don't know.
Right.
I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Like, how can you not know? And women, so I say that because women are naturally curious. Like we want to know details. We want to understand what's going on, the inner workings. So from this very, like, this is the way it's done and it has been done, the market's changed. I will say that's across the board with industries. Consumers are smarter. They have Google, information's a keypad away. And so the feminine way is from doing what we're good at, is building a relationship, staying open, staying curious. That's really the biggest distinction.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I was at my event. I'm always telling them so many, like, it's not just that we want to know, we also want to tell, right?
Right.
Especially these women are working with women who want to talk about the things that might seem irrelevant to their portfolio, but really all matter because it's about how they feel and how they make decisions and how they feel when they buy shoes and they don't want to tell their husband about it. And I'm using that analogy as if I ever buy shoes and don't tell my husband about it because I don't really shop. But like I'm thinking of my mother when she first like started, like, and she would buy shoes at TJ Maxx and things like that. She doesn't like to spend a lot of money, but before she was working, my dad was basically making all the money. And she said when she would go shopping, and even though they were $30 shoes or something, she would like try to put them in the closet without my dad seeing, so she wouldn't get shit about it because she felt like, I'm not supposed to do that or whatever, and so everyone has their little things, but it's like there's so much around just how those relationships are and telling like just how women are in general. And I was at my event and I was telling them, like, revealing things you should not ever tell your female financial advisor clients, like how you made extremely big mistakes with your investments recently. When you're teaching them how to grow your business, at least I'm not trying to teach anyone how to invest, but I'm like, I was a financial advisor for 10 years. And then I'm like telling them like still how I make these mistakes. And I'm like, well, my whole thing, I'm like TMI squared, like I am TMI squared. I tell way too much and like, multiplied. So that's my new term, TMI squared. But we women want to talk about these things and we want to be asked about these things. And also going back to Cutco, I have a funny story about that because I play tennis with this woman, or I used to, and she said to me, like, the exact script that she said to me, just like you said, is exactly the script I was taught as a financial advisor. And she was like, hey, she called me up. She's like, hey, Robin, it's Kat from tennis. I'm like, hey, how you doing? And she's like, she gave me her why. She was like, I have a full-time job and everything, but during the summer, I have this kind of side hustle selling Cutco knives because now her why, because my son, he's doing these extracurricular activities for college. And I really want to help him do those things and pay for college. And so, and I just started recently. And so I'd love to practice my presentation on you and your husband. And I was like, oh God, like we were told to do the same thing around money. I want to practice. Right. I told my cousin, I'm going to practice practice this shit. And then like I go through the presentation with my cousin. And at the end, I'm like, we're going to take that 401k and roll it over into the capital appreciation fund. And she's like, are you kidding me? I thought this was practice. And similar, like same Cutco thing. Like she shows me the presentation, sells me the knives, asks for referrals. I grow my business based on referrals here. You know, can I have all these referrals? And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable because I don't feel comfortable selling my friends on Cutco knives, right? It's exact same thing with money. Exact, like to a T.
Right.
Like, dude, knives and money, how could that be the same? But these are the old archaic strategies. They have worked. So I get it, but it's because you're going to people who are kind of already ready to buy, which makes a bigger difference. But I had to add those two things.
I mean, I think not that the Cutco CEO and the CEO of Ameriprise are in the same room, like conspiring in like some dingy, like Hilton hotel room, ballroom. But in a way they are. I mean, like in a way, like that's the system that's made. And I think what's really incredible about women entrepreneurs, women service providers is we see things differently. And, you know, we didn't really get rights in the last 50 years. And now it's really time for us to do things differently. And I will say that even though it was horrendous what's happened with the pandemic and just how our world has been shifted upside down, to me, I'm a glass half full kind of girl. I'm a glass all full kind of girl. It's just like, where can we see things differently, even in the face of insurmountable odds when things seem like they're falling apart? My opinion is that they're falling together. They're falling into place. So I do think for many reasons, and I'll step just barely into the woo, like this really conspired for us. So if you are struggling with that model, here's like you don't need my permission, but let me give it to you. Try it differently. I think you, Robin, are an incredible example and mentor for those women that are looking to do it differently, because it is. Just because it was the way that we were taught doesn't necessarily mean it's right, because right and good are two different things. Nice and good are two different things, right? So just that's my 2 cents on it, with how if you're on the fence of doing things differently, and it's hard. I mean, I can only imagine in the financial industry how often that masculine model is taught. And and then we want to have our own powwows around how we can do it differently, and the guys are freaking banging on the door just because the reality is, right, the reality is we are thinking about how to do things differently, and they want to know. They want to keep that, they want to keep control, because that change is scary for most people.
Yeah, and it's not an intention of like pushing people out or women out or minorities out, but it's just it is unfortunately the reality of it. It's like we keep it status quo. This is what we know. This is how we're doing it. And there is this drive of domination, which is a male, trait and innate response to wanting to have control and dominate. And like that is, I mean, from the animal kingdom, like it's even like that. And it's like, it sounds horrible, but I mean, there's a very big difference between how my husband reacts to things, and he's a very manly man, and how I react to things and how I see things. And this is the reason I'm so passionate about getting to that 50% of women in the financial industry, is because women need you. Women need you. And if they're just having a man to talk to about their finance, like if there was 60, let's just call it 75% men in the world and 25% women, it's okay to have 75% men advisors and 25% women, although that's not how it is. And also problem is that women outsurvive the men. So now like they're having to be forced to go to men to get the help. And it's fine if you choose that. And I have this whole new idea about like creating this, reaching this goal of getting 50% of women in the industry. Is I think women that are outside the industry, like these women you've worked with, Lisa Nichols, and, we can say big names that maybe they won't know, but these women that we're talking to that have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of women on their list, the Marie Forleos, the Lisa Sasevich, all these people that no one in the financial industry know, Mel Robbins, let's just say you probably know.
Yep.
But to get these women influencers to raise their hand and say, I want to work with a female advisor. If we can get, this is my whole new idea about this whole mission, is if we can get women and like you, right, to say, Claire says, like, I want to work with a female financial advisor. And if women of influence start to say that and they tell their communities to say that, that's when we'll have a greater demand. And that's when we can start to have a bigger supply of women in the industry. And so I think part of the responsibility is on women who are in the industry to be successful in the industry, to learn sales techniques that you're aligned with. It's not salesy, where you're getting to the real heart of what their challenges are and really understanding what they want and really letting them express themselves and be real about the deep stuff that matters. And then figuring out a solution, the vehicle, whatever the product or whatever it is, it's just a vehicle to get them there faster. Like if you're going to go from California to New York, well, you could take a vehicle, like you could take a boat. I think you can get a boat, but like, is that the fastest way? No, you could take a car. That's not as fast as a plane. Like, so the vehicle matters, but first we need to know they're in California and want to go to New York, and like driving down through the Panama Canal. And boating down through the Panama Canal and like going to New York is probably not the best way. Right. So your job is to figure out that vehicle, but without knowing where they want to go and where they are, like you can't get them there. You're just an order taker. You're just someone that's like, okay, well, I guess just take a boat because it's going to get you there. So who cares?
Right.
Well, what's going to get them there faster? So that's really the sales process of getting there. And I think we have a responsibility as women in the industry to be successful. So we stay in the industry. But I also think women like you who are not in the financial industry, Claire, like these women that we're associated with have a responsibility to start saying like, hey, we got to be part of the solution.
Right.
Or saying, I want a female financial advisor. And then it will start to change.
I love that.
Big to drop on you right there. But
I mean, no, I'm so in agreement with that because, and I think at the heart of this too, when it comes to us collaborating together and I'm not sure how it is in the finance industry, but really I see this across the board with women where there's like scarcity around it. Where, in fact, I was talking to a mentor of mine. She was at the time, I think, what year was that? In the 2000s, she was one of the top 3 women in Oracle. Like she was the top salesperson at that time. And she was the only one, like the only woman in this industry in like that particular like role where she was a woman. And I thought about that. It's not just the men, like, right. There's some ownership there that they been making inclusivity a piece of company culture, but from a woman level, how often do we feel threatened, just threatened or like there's not enough, intimidated, there's not enough. And the reality is that we're stronger together. We're so much stronger together. And what I've also realized is that any kind of criticism that I have about another woman, it is just a reflection of my own internal world. It is just a reflection. If I say a woman's intimidating, really, it's like, where have I felt intimidated? Like, where have I felt scared? Where have I felt not like I'm not measuring up to this other person? And I think that's a paradigm that is slowly starting to shift. There are more people doing self-help, personal development, spiritual work. We're getting, people are kind of waking up to we can't always just point the fingers outwards. So when it comes to women supporting other women, it really, for me, is owning our own stuff around it. And stopping this whole thing of pushing other women down or pushing them. Like there's enough for everybody. There's enough for everybody. I mean, I don't even know what's above billions, zillions. That's just made that word up.
First.
Trillions, right?
But then gazillion, kabillion, billions.
Right. I mean, there's so much money being circulated. We don't even know the names of it, right? We're just in the buys, the billions. So if that money is going around, it's being circulated, it's going to be circulated regardless. So we may as well band together and be a part of it. Take what is our birthright, which is I believe everybody has access directly to abundance. Absolutely. I really do. And not easy to say as a minority woman of color. Because I know other minorities, there's mindset, there's definite and for good reason, cultural beliefs that we don't have access. And when we start to heal together, when the playing field's more even, when we start talking about these things and being willing to, what I think is true leadership, which is not pushing other people down, but pulling them up to the table, like getting them like literally to getting behind their waist and like, hey, come over here, come play with us. That's how we all win.
Absolutely. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. Tell them where to find you. Sounds like Instagram's a good one.
Yeah, that's my jam. You can find me at Clare Cui. So CLARE_Cui.
Spell Cui. There's no way they're going to know how to spell Cui.
CUI.
It's funny you spell Claire because it usually has an I, but what is it? CUI?
CUI. That's it.
Okay. Cool. CUI. Okay. So check it out. Anywhere else they should find you?
That's my main jam. Okay, that's my main jam. Yeah.
Check her out, follow her, get in on this, and come back next week. We'll see you next week. Thanks again. Bye-bye. I actually have the link for the tag challenge, the appointment generator challenge. So instead, you can just go to femalefinancialadvisors.com and register right now so that you can get 5 quality appointments in just 5 days. Now, this is not around, you having to talk to friends and family and get all awkward. This is not about you having to spend marketing dollars online or create a whole funnel. This is going to be easy. It's simple. It happens in 5 days. If I can get you 5 quality appointments in 5 days, then you know that you can have the best year of your life because you just need to get in front of more of the right people. We will walk through it together as we do it. So do not miss this. And if you're smart, do VIP, spend a few extra bucks, and you can actually spend time with me on Zoom where I can connect with you, get to know you, and really help you get those quality appointments so that you can grow your business. And go ahead again, register at femalefinancialadvisors.com. You'll find it all there. It's coming up very, very soon. So make sure to register, claim your spot, get in on this, get excited about it, block your calendar because you need to spend about an hour to an hour and a half a day with me on the Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so that you can get these results. And it does work. The most appointments I think we got in those 5 days, someone, I think it was Dana, got 33 appointments. So you could be my best student and go well beyond the 5 quality appointments. Go to 10, go to 15, go to 20, and set yourself up for the best year ever. Can't wait to see you at the Tag Challenge. See you there. Thank you again for listening to Growing Your Financial Business the Woman's Way.